citizens of Worthington for serving on the city council for as long as you did. Why don't you tell me your pathway to becoming a city council member?
Yeah, of course. So really the first interaction that I had was just wanting to become active in the community. So it wasn't even a political thing that I wanted to be part of city council, but I saw there was an honorary council member position that you could do. It's a period of 3 months where you go and attend council meetings. You can also attend committee meetings if you really want to be hands-on, but you don't have to do that part of it. And so that was kind of my introduction to the city council. I thought, hey, let's just learn what this is about, and then maybe try to find a committee or something that I want to serve on. During that time when I was on as an honorary council member, Mike Harmon had passed away and his position became available. He had under 2 years left remaining of his term, and so they went through a pretty strenuous appointment process during which they interviewed over 10 different candidates, and then I was eventually selected to replace that seat on council. And then after that, I did run in the 2022 election, and so my term there started January 1st of 2023.
Okay, and so there is 2+ years left on your term, and so they will kind of go about that same process of appointment as they did with Mike Harmon's position for your position, correct?
Yeah, they're going to do it a little bit differently. Just based on statutes, they have to appoint someone, and then the next person, because there's over 2 years remaining, they do have to run in the next election. And so that will run concurrent with the next general election. So the person who is appointed, they're going to do a bit of an abbreviated process just because it is such a short amount of time. And then whoever wants to run for my position then will actually run in the next general election. And so they will run in November. As soon as that is certified within a couple of days by the county, that person will immediately take that seat. So they will not wait until January 1st like most the other people running for positions will do.
Okay, so it is going to be done a little differently.
Yeah.
So when someone runs for city council, I know you have another full-time job, and it's a time commitment. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I kind of touched on this a little bit during our council meeting, and then I looked at the numbers again, and I actually underestimated, how many meetings. So not only are you expected to go to the 2 city council meetings per month,
right,
but you also are on committees, and they are willing to work with you depending on what your job is, so that hopefully the committees you're on work with your job schedule. I was able to be on a couple that met at maybe 7 a.m. in the morning. Occasionally I would have a meeting over lunch break, and then I would also have some in the evenings. So I said that for me, a little bit of a kind of plethora of all of them worked best, instead of taking away all of my family time in the evenings, right, or just taking away time during work. So we were able to kind of find a mix that did work. But I figured out was over my 3 years of being on council though, it was about 70 council meetings that I attended, and then upwards of 250 other committee meetings. And so it's not something to take lightly,
right,
just the amount of time that you need to spend. But I also don't want to scare someone away, because they are willing to work with you if you don't have quite as much flexibility. And it really depends on what your interests are. I really wanted to, try to help solve the daycare shortage in the area, and so I made sure that I was on those meetings and that I could attend those. So some of those, depending on what you're what you're interested in, will dictate a little bit of how many meetings you actually have.
So the challenge of working this position into your work life and home life is a challenge. What are some of the other challenges that you faced, or things that you found were a little bit difficult, or maybe were unexpectedly difficult?
Yeah. One of the things is really trying to learn about everyone in the community, because there are so many different groups. And so by immediately getting on council, you don't get extended the invitation to maybe meet with some of these different groups of people. You really have to seek that out. And so that's something that I'd say was a bit of a challenge, because you only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
So to try to make some of those connections, that was one area that I really wish I could have focused more on, and that I did have plans to try to integrate myself more and just to continue meeting more people. So some of those connections might come more naturally to to some people, or maybe they already have those connections and they could really help bring a different perspective to city council.
Let's talk about the accomplishments. You had spoken to things that you were interested in, came into the position with interested in daycare, things like that. Talk about some of the things that got done while you were on council.
Yeah, so with kind of my abbreviated time, I wouldn't say there was a lot of projects that I got to see from like start to finish.
Sure.
But some of the things that I'm proud to have worked on were the Worthington Water World. I came on that had already been in the works, but I got to help make some of the decisions with some of the planning. Things like the colors of the slides, the logo, the name, Worthington Water World. We went back and forth with quite a few different names. So that's just a fun one with being, someone younger in the community who I'm going to be bringing my kids there for years to come.
Right.
So that's kind of cool to be able to tell them that. Other things would be, this is going to seem really minute to most people, but it kind of prefaces me being on council, so I think it's kind of an interesting story, is there were, city council years ago had said that they wanted to have stop signs on the bike path in Worthington. And so my husband was one that actually installed those stop signs, and at the time, I was just a citizen of Worthington, and I had said, logically something looks wrong here. These signs are very high up in the air, and it just, to me, they don't make sense. And at the time I was told that that was how staff had said that it had to be, that they had to be the same height as normal signs. And at the time I did the research and found out that's actually incorrect. They can be lower than normal signs for like vehicles. And so that was something that I continued to bring up, and they actually just within the last few weeks, they got those moved back down. So that way you understand that those stop signs are for people on bikes, and they are not for people that are driving by that are very confused by them.
Right.
So again, some of those small things, I feel like that's kind of what, I feel like I had a small part in many different projects, but there wasn't really anything that I feel like I championed or, really brought forward and was able to see to fruition quite yet.
So let's talk about that, looking into the future. What are some things that you think are coming up that are crucial that need to be looked at?
Yeah, so I think the daycare discussion is something that, again, is going to continue to be a topic of conversation and hopefully one of action. The issue there, though, is I don't think you can just build the center. I think you also need to consider where are subsidies going to come for some of the members to continue to attend some of these children. It's going to become unaffordable for quite a few, because the positions that were subsidizing some of the younger children, some of those infant spots, are no longer in the daycare system. They are now going more to the school system. And so I don't know if that's going to be a local question that gets answered, or if statewide, if they're going to come with some funding, but it's going to continue to be a topic. Another one would be housing. And that housing was something that over the years we've talked about many different developers coming in, and we're getting really close on a few of them. We've currently just authorized to write some grants for a few different organizations to try to bring some dollars to Worthington and to get one of these projects off the ground. So again, none of these are very short-term things. They're going to continue to be topics of discussion. One thing to kind of help that housing issue, though, was I was on the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, and through that we were able to build a twin home, and that is currently fully rented out within the last several months. So, continuing to just find ways to add housing to Worthington, I think was, something I was really proud of.
When we interviewed Mayor Cooley when he was leaving his position, those are two things that he talked about. So that clearly is an ongoing, those are clearly ongoing problems.
Right.
What did you learn about yourself in this process?
Yeah, I think I learned how good I was at time management. I think that's very important for someone that's in a role like this, is to make sure that you show up on time, that you understand how your schedule fits in, and so you're not constantly double booking yourself, because that would be very easy to do. So I think just kind of the time management and the ability to also separate some of those responsibilities with family time and things like that.
So you talked about the path you took was through the honorary council person position. What would you say to encourage people to take a look at that as something to do?
Yeah, I think it's just such a good experience, even if you don't plan on being on city council, just to learn how our city government works and how the employees interact with the council as well is really interesting to see. And if the honorary program isn't something that interests someone, know that you can do that to learn what else you want to become interested in, within the community. I think volunteerism is so down right now. You can look citywide, countywide, and you can see so many vacancies on the boards, and some of these positions have been vacant for years. And so when we really kind of look internally at ourselves and we say, okay, what am I doing? What could I be doing more? You don't need to always donate with money. Donations of your time are so valuable, and they help organizations, entities in the area, and they really help you learn about the area that you live in.
Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about on your way out of this position?
No, I guess more than anything, I'm really excited to see what direction council goes. There are a lot of seats open at this next general election, and I think just knowing that whoever runs is really going to shape what Worthington looks like for years to come. So I hope that there's a lot of interest in my seat for the short term, and that hopefully that would potentially lead to someone running once they kind of understand how the city council works. And then we'll see who is all elected with them and what Worthington looks like here in the next couple of years. I'm really excited to see that.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us, Alaina, and thank you for serving the citizens of Worthington.
Thank you.